Mary Miller Hayes was the daughter-in-law of Rutherford Hayes, and she married Webb Hayes, Rutherford and Lucy's second son. She initially was married to Samuel Brinkerhoff, who was a justice of the peace, and he was also vice president of the First National Bank until he died in 1906. When she remarried to Webb in 1912, they lived a pretty active life, traveling around the world to Alaska and Cuba. They even went to some battlefields of the Spanish-American War. And when World War I broke out, she actually worked with the Red Cross, as you can see with this uniform here. And she helped with wounded soldiers. She also worked on the Swiss border in France during World War I in a recuperation camp that was designed to give soldiers 8-day leaves every 3 to 4 months. She also donated $100,000 towards the founding of the Fremont Memorial Hospital, which opened in 1918. She founded the Mary Miller Hayes School of Nursing. She donated to the Fremont Federation of Women Club, and she was part of the endowment that started the Hayes Foundation, which created the Hayes Memorial Library, which is what we work at today, the Rutherford B. Hayes Presidential Library and Museums. Webb died in 1934, and Mary Miller lived a little bit longer. She moved to Phoenix in December of that year, but she died March 3rd, 1935. She didn't have children with either marriage. This interactive provides insight into the Hayes family and into the evolution of the home. What I find most interesting, or what I want to highlight anyway about this video or this interactive, is the way that you can follow how the house changed over the years. And it has these little house icons you click on, and it provides you with a summation of what was going on at that particular time on the timeline. In 1845, Sardis bought the house, and then in the late 1850s into the 1860s, he was slowly building the beginning of the house, and you can see the red outline which highlights the area that he had built initially. And you can follow the stages as different members of the family added on. When Rutherford moved in, Lucy wanted access to the kitchen, a wood house, and a toilet, so they added some in the back. And then later on, after the presidency, came back and had a whole new extension added of a library, a drama room, and a greenhouse. In the last addition to the house, the family added a little bit more, renovating the kitchen and expanding the dining room and adding it to the house that we know today. Webb Cook Hayes is the second son of Lucy and Rutherford Hayes, and he founded the Hayes Museum and Library. We have some of his military belongings here on display. Two of the more interesting artifacts we have are his Medals of Honor. He received his Medal of Honor for locating 150 U.S. infantry who were stuck in a town called Vigan during the Philippine insurrection in 1899. The town was under attack, so he had to wait until the sun went down and pass through enemy lines disguised as a Filipino. Once the firing stopped, Hayes sent a letter to the U.S. Navy, and the fighting began, killing 8 Americans and 40 Filipinos. Webb's original medal is here, and next to it is a new medal, which he ordered when the new medal was designed. He received the new medal in 1927. On the back wall of the family gallery, we have this family tree, which highlights the offspring of Rutherford and Lucy all the way down to their great-grandchildren. One of the questions we get often asked is this relationship between Lucy Hayes Platt and Rutherford Platt Hayes. William Augustus Platt married Fanny Arabella Hayes, who was Rutherford's sister. She died at an early age, and after she died, William remarried to Sarah Follett, and together they had 3 children. Their second daughter was Lucy Hayes Platt, who they named after William's former mother-in-law. But there was no blood relation between Rutherford Platt Hayes and Lucy Hayes Platt. So the names, even though they may be misleading, there is no blood relation there. Christmas in the late 19th century was not celebrated the way it was today. Christmas became a federal holiday on June 28, 1870, although it did receive some celebration before that date. When the Hayeses were in the White House, Fanny received multiple dollhouses for Christmas. The first dollhouse is this blue dollhouse, and it was presented to President and Mrs. Hayes for Fanny, who was only 11 at the time. The house was made by George C. Brown, who was a carpenter contractor from Baltimore, Maryland. When the family left the White House in 1881, the dollhouse was brought back to the Fremont home. It has been on display in the museum since it opened in 1960. It has changed. The dollhouse was restored and wired for electric lights in 1960. The dollhouse has been furnished with miniature antique furniture by Betty Hayes III, but this furniture is not original to the dollhouse when Fanny had it. Before the dollhouse that she received in 1878, she received this other white dollhouse in 1877. This was a dollhouse that Lucy Hayes had made by Madison Magruder. This dollhouse was a present for her in the Christmas of 1877. The furniture and toys are not original to the dollhouse or the Hayes family, but they're there for decoration. And it's been rumored that Fanny enjoyed this dollhouse a little more than the blue dollhouse. As you can see, the openings in the back are much wider, and Fanny was able to get her hands in there and move furniture and toys around a little bit easier. In 2016, during the renovation of the museum, the designers of the exhibits felt that it was almost cruel that these two dollhouses were on display and children had no means of playing with the toys inside. So to protect the artifacts, but at the same time give children a way to interact with the dollhouses, was to create an entirely new dollhouse, as you can see here. And in order for us to have things for kids to manipulate and play with, we created these magnets which can go on these magnetic walls of the house, and students or children can move the magnets around and reposition them however they would like.